welcome to the Winging It F1 podcast. We've got a load of university deadlines coming up this week, but it's not going to stop us from previewing the Monaco Grand Prix. I'm here with Freddie and Adam. One of them has been to Monaco, of course. I think you can work out which one of them that is. And the other hasn't quite been to Monaco, but he's been doing a lot of filming in Sheffield over the last few days. How are you both doing this week?
Not only has Freddie been to Monaco, there's rumours that he has a residency there and he lives there for half the year and a day, but unconfirmed, and wouldn't want to put those allegations out there. I'm going to be glad when this week's over, to be honest. After Thursday, I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, let's look forward to that.
I've enjoyed where Adam's just said, don't want to put those allegations out there after blatantly making something up about me. And also how Nigel implied that I've been in Monaco for the past few weeks while Adam's been doing uni work. But yeah, I'm great. I've got a tan from my lovely new flat in Monaco, which I won't confirm nor deny, and I will happily receive one if anyone wants to give me one.
To be fair, Nigel only said that I'd been doing uni work in Sheffield, so you could have been doing uni work in Monaco, but he was saying that you were in Monaco. So yeah, I'd just like to again make that clear, because we don't want to be spreading false allegations about Freddie.
I try to make all of my uni work international, I can. I do now. Now that we can travel as of May 17th, we can go to Monaco, Portugal, the Falkland Islands, and that's about it. So I'm going to go to the Falkland Islands for fun.
Well, now he's in Monaco, anything in Sheffield is international, so it balances out.
Get my Sheffield tan.
There we go. Freddie's getting a Sheffield tan.
You said that like that was the end of the podcast.
Yeah, so something that has got a new colour, or will have a new colour, is the McLaren livery. That's the worst segue in the world. They announced on Sunday.
It's orange like a fake tan.
Yeah.
Is your tan fake? I thought it was oh, okay.
It's fake, anyway, like the Monaco allegations.
Again, I wouldn't want to put that out there that Freddie does have fake tan. If it was indeed, and on the off chance that it is indeed unfounded, I wouldn't want to be the one responsible for.
Anyway, McLaren livery. There was a lot of hype. They're going to run a Gulf livery, which is what we saw at Le Mans a lot with McLaren in the 90s. We saw it with Ford and Porsche as well in the 60s and 70s, I think. So yeah, for me, I think it's now the best livery on the grid. Is that something you agree with?
It's great. It's nice for a one-off. I think, it's great because it's a history of motorsport livery. That's what makes it fantastic. And it's so iconic, the Gulf livery, that it's a really hard one to do a new spin on, but they've matched it to the McLaren pattern that was already there, to that livery that we've had for the past season and a bit. And I think it works really well. I think it's really good. And yeah, great. Looks good. Well done. Everyone else should do it. Throwback race.
If everyone else did it, it'd be really hard to tell the cars apart. But yeah, I think there's so many black sponsors on it now, which kind of, I think, takes away the effect from it a bit. But it's very nice, and like you say, the way they've kind of melded it with the livery that they've got at the moment, and the car number styles, I think, is maybe the one that stands out most to me. And the Twitter profile picture is probably even better than the livery in my eyes. Possibly my eyes only, and they can't even see very well. But yeah, I think as you say, it's good for a one-off. It's what people wanted. Like, as soon as Gulf were announced as McLaren, I think most fans would have been thinking, "Oh, can they do that?" And they have at Monaco. So yeah. Although if they don't do well, that's going to be bad, because then it'll be like, "Oh yeah," and they had that really great Gulf livery, and then they finished 18th, and yeah, so it's a bit of a risk if things do go badly, because it will be remembered forever.
Well, there is the curse of the guest special livery that we saw with Mercedes in Hockenheim, where they brought in that quite cool sort of anniversary livery with it harking back to the to the past with their white kind of old-fashioned German racing colours stripping out into the silver arrows of the day, which was fantastic, and was what they blamed for two cars crashing on track, which is ridiculous.
They crashed off track, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true, actually. They crashed off the track. But yeah, so that happened. And then, I don't know, there's probably some other examples of guest liveries having been cursed, but I can't be bothered to think of some. Oh, Red Bull double retirement when they did a Star Wars livery. Jaguar crashing out and losing a 300 grand diamond. That's one of my favourite stories in F1 history.
Ferrari at Mugello didn't go very well.
Yeah, Ferrari at Mugello got double points, I think.
Oh, okay, apparently not.
It was still like 8th and 10th though.
But Seb announced he was leaving, so that was a bit. Or
Oh yeah,
going to Aston Martin overshadowed their big weekend. So
Lando Norris is going to move to Mercedes. Both McLarens are going to crash, and it's going to be even more marketing for Gulf. So win-win.
Simultaneously, they'll crash as Lando Norris is on the team radio going, "Hey guys, I'm moving to Mercedes. Oh, what's Ricciardo doing there? Oh, bother.
Oh no, the Mercedes now have both got a 1-2 because I crashed. What a shame." And that's Lando Norris for the next 20 races. Again, these allegations are not true and are not founded in anything. But what is founded in things
the ones regarding in Norris aren't true.
What is founded in fact is that Saturday is going to be the 55th anniversary of McLaren's first ever race, which is fantastic for a reason why they've done this. So, yeah. Harken back to Bruce McLaren. What a guy.
It's just quickly, it's also Williams' 750th F1 race. It's not something I've seen. I think that's something that, will get built up as the week goes on. Is there anything you guys want to say on that, I guess?
No.
Yes.
Good.
They're doing a little activation where you can get your name on the F1 car if you apply for something, which is quite cool. It's a good bit of fan engagement. And at the end of the day, they have done 750 Grand Prix. So fair play to them. There's only been 1,040 Grand Prix now. So it makes you think, God, I only think of Williams as like a team from the late 70s. So they've done a lot, have Williams. And you kind of have to think back, yeah, they are still the team with the second most Constructors' Championships in the history of Formula One. And it's nice to celebrate them. It's a shame that we can't celebrate. It's a shame they're not doing like a similar thing with retro to what McLaren are doing, because it's arguably a bigger reason.
They've not got Martini as a sponsor anymore, though, so it'd be.
No, they've not got any sponsors.
No, that is also true. It also shows the difference in what Williams joined the grid 25, 30 years after Ferrari, and they're only 250 odd races behind, if my math is correct, which it might not be.
260 odd.
Shows how the Grand Prix have really ramped up. You kind of forget how few races and championship races they did have way back when.
Yeah, and that just brings you into the whole, how many non-championship races did they have, which was many.
I don't know.
And
how many did they have?
Many. And you'd have like different races that were called like different cups, and they were run to Formula One spec, and they would happen like, you'd have like, say you go to Goodwood's racetrack and have like 3 races in a day, all with Formula One races, but they wouldn't be at all anything to do with the Formula One World Championship and that kind of thing. So there were thousands of races, I think, probably hundreds, maybe not thousands, but tons and tons and tons of races that just we wouldn't see it in that way today. And yeah, we're talking about history because it's Monaco, so we can.
Yeah, it's always nice to see teams or drivers hit a milestone. And for Williams, 750 races is incredible for an independent team as well. Hopefully they do make it to 1,000, because that means, they've been able to stay on the grid in the long term and stuff. And it would be amazing if, Russell or Latifi could get a point, perhaps, just to, celebrate the 750th race. I know it's unlikely, but at Monaco, you just never know, I guess. And it could take a spectacular performance from Russell on Saturday or something, which, he's been doing this year and last year. So, yeah, we'll see how they get on. But it is Monaco. We haven't had a podcast about it before because it was cancelled last year for the first time since, I think, 1959 or something like that. So, Monaco, why well, weirdly, a lot of people don't like it, but us three, I think we've mentioned before, ages ago, that we all do like it. So why do we like Monaco?
It seems to perfectly characterize F1. It's just total excess everywhere, and that's kind of what F1 is fundamentally. It just kind of fits the stereotype of F1. I think beyond that, it's genuinely unique. You know, there are tons of street races around the world of motorsport, but there aren't any that have just got the same mystique as Monaco, the same absolute challenge, because it is a proper driving challenge. Yeah, it's just one to get excited. It's one to get excited about because of the event. It's kind of complete opposite of, say Barcelona last week. So yeah, we just thought the week before, I don't know, sometime this year. Yeah, it just seems to perfectly place the stereotype of F1. It's a great race. Well, not the race itself, but it's a great event.
So the argument is you can't overtake, the race is boring. What is your message to people who think that, Freddie?
I think it's a Saturday track, and to be fair, actually, if we're going to think about the races, 2015 really memorable race because Verstappen driving really fantastically, and then Mercedes mess up with the pit stops. 2016 soaking wet, Ricciardo versus Hamilton all the way through the race. Ricciardo's pit stop mess up and fantastic, really exciting race through the field. Alonso finished 6th or something in that race, which was mad. 2018, you had that really kind of tense moment with, not much action on track, but you had Ricciardo basically being in a car that should have been retired, managing to still extend his lead, which I found incredibly tense. And then 2019, you had something similar with Hamilton basically having to fend off a much faster Verstappen for something like 50 laps. And I look at that and think that's 4 of the last 5 races have been fantastic races, actually, and have been really memorable. And maybe it's not a racing track, but it's a track that you can have a good race at. Like, it's, maybe you can't go side by side, but you can play the game. And I think it's really exciting to see a track where if you put a foot wrong, you're going to lose. And that's why qualifying there is so beautifully fantastic. Adam was talking there about sort of the excess of Monaco, and you get that in terms of an onboard camera around Monaco. The excessive speed is insane. It looks like it's all on fast forward. If you just to watch a steering wheel around Monaco on a hot lap of qualifying, say Q3 pole lap, you'll look at that and think, oh my goodness, what the hell is going on here? Why have they sped this up so much? It's not. That's the level of ability that these drivers have in these cars around this track. And I mean, I find qualifying mind-blowing, even when it's around just like, the Imola qualifying this year was absolutely insane. And you look at that and think, how that's going to, in Monaco, that's going to be even bigger. But the margins in Monaco are famously small and stuff like that. And the margin for error is impossible. And it's, the challenge just epitomizes why people in Formula One are nutters, but fantastic nutters.
It is. The Saturday is one of the best qualifying of the year because there's so much pressure on it, there's so much riding on it, and there's so little margin for error. So yeah, I definitely think I agree on that. It's a Saturday track, and watch qualifying. Not a Saturday's track though, because we don't have rights to those. But we move.
Yeah, I think Freddie summed up what I wanted to say perfectly there. I mean, to be racing at or driving at 150, 170 miles an hour in qualifying, millimeters away from the barriers, the risk versus reward only gets bigger. It's just phenomenal. I mean, Nelson Piquet said it's like riding a bike in your living room, which obviously for some would be a lot easier than others.
Exactly. Nelson Piquet's probably got a massive living room.
Yeah, exactly.
But what's your Monaco living room like, Freddie?
It's tiny. If I were to ride a bike around it, I would crash.
Well, but yeah,
out of the window. The bike's not big enough for the living room. It's like a closet.
It's just a fantastic track, I think. And yes, there hasn't been an overtake for the lead. I mean, we were talking about it the other day. There hasn't been an overtake for the lead since 1996, and even that was because Alesi was on like dry tyres in the wet or something, wet tyres to dry or something like that. There hasn't been a genuine overtake for the podium since 2006 when Raikkonen overtook Webber. So yes, there aren't many overtakes, especially near the front. But for me, I don't really care in a way because there's still strategy, for the one pit stop and stuff. And especially this year, as we've seen, that has been crucial. But the Saturday alone makes Monaco for me. I just absolutely love, some of the best drivers in the world going at it at one of the most historic, if not the most famous motorsport venue in the world. And it is just, mind-boggling to think the speeds that they're doing so close to the walls and stuff.
And just following on from that, it is, it's the only F1 race that takes place at a true iconic venue in the world, not just in the world of motorsport, but it's like Formula E doing a race around the Taj Mahal, or like, I don't know, rallying at Mount Everest, or I don't know.
What are you on about?
It is, but Monaco is, if you show people a picture of Monaco, 99 people out of 100 will be able to identify immediately is that famous a venue in the world, and that's just racing around that.
It's the famous venue of the racetrack. It's the race that's made Monaco so famous, in my view. I mean, obviously we weren't growing up in like 1920 when Monaco was the jet set. Exactly. And you look at Monaco and think that is the place where they race in the streets. What the hell? Why do they do that? It's narrower than my route to Tesco. So and they're driving Formula One cars around there. So it's just insane. It is just absolutely insane. And talking about qualifying there, I think one of my favorite qualifying sessions of all time, just for sheer like craziness, was the 2017 Monaco Grand Prix qualifying. Which so to paint the picture for that race, you had Fernando Alonso was over doing Indies. You had Jenson Button came over and he hadn't driven the 2017 cars. They were a whole new challenge. He hadn't been working out because he thought he'd retired from F1. He got in the car. He got to Q3. He out-qualified Van Dorn. It's like, wow, fair play, Jenson. And then on top of that, the Mercedes had been struggling a bit with tyres. It was a bit of a diva, if you remember when the Mercedes was a diva. Lewis Hamilton qualified 14th. Valtteri Bottas qualified, I want to say, something like 7th or something random like that. And then Kimi Raikkonen got pole. It's like, what are you doing, Kimi? You're not supposed to get pole. That's reserved for other people, like all the other drivers. And it was just like that qualifying was one of the best qualifyings for sheer number of storylines to come out of one qualifying session. If you're a journalist reporting on that one, you'd hate it. You've got so much to write afterwards.
Oh, there we go. Let's see if there's some more headlines to write this weekend. In fact, what do we think is going to happen? For me, I feel, this might be quite bored, but I feel this weekend is a must-win for Verstappen if he wants to win the championship. If Hamilton wins this weekend, Verstappen second or third or whatever, I think realistically it's championship over. Is that something you would agree with? I know there's a long way to go, but I just feel momentum and stuff. And, yeah.
No, I don't. All it takes is Lewis retiring in the next race, and suddenly it's back open. I think there's still a lot of twists and turns to go. I think championship over will be in the kind of spell of last 8 races, maybe something like that. But I think at the moment he's still in touch, and they're only a retirement away from dropping potentially 25 points, and that's always on the card, at least in the first half of the season.
I think the reason I think that is because it's kind of like last year when Bottas, like after 2 or 3 races, he was 15, 20 points behind, and I kind of felt if Bottas doesn't win whatever the 4th or 5th race was, if he didn't win that weekend, which he didn't, it was championship over there. And I kind of feel this is the same because I can only see Hamilton and Mercedes getting stronger. And I think you got to start, if you're Red Bull and Verstappen, you have to start clawing back points at some point, I think.
I get what you're saying with that. I'm more inclined to agree with Adam that it's such a long season. We've got 2 more races than we would do in any of the longest seasons we've had before, with 23 races. And we've only had 4 of them. This will be the 5th. and that's just so early to be determining that. But I know what you're saying for momentum purposes and for mentality purposes, because then if you've got Max going to the next few rounds going, I need to win this one, I need to win this one, and if he doesn't win those, that's when the mistakes start creeping in. That's where that move he did in Barcelona on the first lap to take the lead, that's where he starts to question it while he's doing it, and that's where he crashes and doesn't take the lead and puts himself out of the race. And if he puts Lewis and himself out of the race, that's fine because no one's getting points. If he puts himself out of the race, Lewis gets points, and then it becomes just a game of management for Hamilton, and it becomes a game of absolute sort of dare and do for Verstappen. And I think I get what you're saying. I think it really depends on if Hamilton wins, you could start to see a few sort of cracks in Verstappen, but I don't know. He's been so calm and collected over the past few rounds.
For me, I feel if Red Bull can't win this weekend, what track can they win at on pure pace? Because if they can't win at Monaco, I don't see why they can beat Mercedes on pure pace.
But you can't argue about. We can't make any comments about pure pace because the Red Bull's taken it took pole in Bahrain by a significant chunk. Race pace is an entirely different thing as well because we had different strategies across the board, but they've matched pace, haven't they?
Well,
they have.
Austria, I think Red Bull will be stronger there compared to Mercedes. And there's 2 races there, which we'll don't know if we'll get onto now. But yeah, well, it just feels too I get what you say. I get what you're saying, but yeah, it just feels like, then if Verstappen comes out and wins in Baku, and then it's like championship back open again. I wouldn't. Yeah, I think I'd be wary of closing it off until we're kind of in the final stretch, really.
I think the Red Bull race pace and the Red Bull particularly the Red Bull qualifying pace is exceptional. And I think Red Bull have just been beaten. They've been beaten strategy in 2 races, and they've had 1 or 2 little errors have got in their way in other races because Verstappen, the margin to pole in Spain was 0.03 of a second, and that can be made up by the mini sectors he did on his second lap anyway. You look at his deleted lap, which he made a mistake on in Portimao, that was good enough for pole. You look at the mistake he made in Imola, that was good enough, meant that pace is there for pole. So that's 4 pole positions potentially that the car has shown the pace that it can do. So Monaco gets pole, which is Monaco. Red Bull took pole when they were a second off Mercedes, and now they're 0.03 off Mercedes. So at Barcelona. So, I think if there's any track for Red Bull to dominate, I really think it's this one. I think, we can talk about if they don't win, but I really think this is the track that could have the most domination all year.
That's what I think too. That's what I'm saying. If they don't, for whatever reason, that's why I think. Like personally, I'll say if Verstappen doesn't win this weekend, I'll be shocked if he wins the championship. But, yeah.
What are you going to do if it happens? What's the forfeit? What's the forfeit? No, not shock. What physical forfeit? Like, I don't know, jump into a dam or something.
Jump into a dam.
Jump off a dam into a reservoir. Nigel's got to do some bungee jumping if Hamilton.
I'll do that. Yeah, I'll bungee jump.
I mean,
nice.
But I'd like to bungee jump anyway. So if Russell doesn't win this weekend, then I'll bungee jump.
Whoa! What a forfeit!
Right. Let's talk a bit about Ferrari because I know Freddie thinks they can do very well. I think Leclerc can get onto the podium this weekend. I really think Ferrari have got a strong chance. Is that? What do you make of their chances, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, when you've got Leclerc, then you've always got a good chance. I think podium, feels a bit of a stretch personally. I think if you were going to predict them for a podium, for me, that wouldn't be the track to do it. But yeah, I think it still feels quite hard to put them ahead of McLaren, to be honest, just based off what we've seen. But yeah, it could be quite a seminal moment in the season if they are able to do that. And Yeah, Leclerc didn't have a great experience in Monaco last time, so interesting to see if he can rectify that.
See, I think if there's any track where Ferrari, okay, I'll start again. I think if there's any track where Ferrari could get a podium, it is Monaco, because you look at their pace in the fiddly bits, the final sector of Barcelona, they were on par with the Mercs, I think, there. So you look at that and transplant that to Monaco, which is Monaco, and you think, hang on a second, these guys are a match for them, surely. So I reckon you can see, particularly Charles and Carlos Sainz is actually. We're saying Carlos Sainz has been performing fantastically in qualifying in the Ferrari as well, and he's got form. He's got a few good form laps in him from previous Monaco races. So I think, honestly, I do think both Ferraris could well be in the fight with probably Bottas and Hamilton and Perez. I think the only driver who's probably clear from them is probably Verstappen.
Yeah, I think this year's Ferrari's giving both Sainz and Leclerc confidence, and confidence is exactly what you need at Monaco. You know, if you want to build yourself through practice, get closer and closer to the barriers and stuff. So I think the car is capable of getting close to Mercedes and Red Bull. And for me, they've got probably the best driver lineup on the grid, and we all know how good Leclerc is in qualifying. So yeah, I think they can do something special. I think. But, yeah.
If you look at how more mature Leclerc is compared to his previous Monaco drives, his previous one was a mistake by the team, meaning he didn't get out of Q1, but he had good pace when he was far back in the Ferrari, and made a few sort of rash moves that you get from a youngster. But he's so much more mature. He's had a whole season beating Sebastian Vettel in that car, and his sort of accomplishments this year in that car have been brilliant. Something like, what is it, 2 4th and 2 6th, I want to say, across the races, and that's really good.
Yeah, I think definitely. I don't know. I'm kind of wary of over. I feel like in general, we overestimate the chances of like the midfield cars. Just generally, I think most fans do of getting that.
Well, I don't know. So. I don't know. You look at the pace in Imola, and Norris did a lap that was good enough to be good enough to be third on the grid, a few hundredths off the pole position time, and Leclerc was fourth for that. Was a couple of tenths off Hamilton's pole time, and there were times when we would say Ferrari are challenging for the win, where they were way off that in qualifying, but they were still challenging for the win. So
But how many times do they get a podium, or do midfield cars get a podium? Last season there was some
Monaco, isn't it?
But that's the point. That's why we're saying it's different to that. We're saying there's more elements of that means it's less like that.
It's more of a driver's circuit as well. So the driver makes a massive difference in Leclerc. You know, if he gels with it, I can see him generally getting second row start in like third place or something.
It's the proof that it's a driver's track is a qualifying track even. Is Jarno Trulli won a race there? And he's not a race driver, he's a qualifying driver, and that's it.
When was the last surprise podium at Monaco?
Sergio Perez in 2016, I guess, was pretty surprised.
I don't know, but this year the field's been closer than ever in the turbo hybrid era, by far. Like, there's been no overseas where it's been this close ever. This is by a long stretch. So I think, it's a bit different. Like
You're
last
right.
year, if you look at the final sector in Spain, I reckon between Mercedes and the rest, there was like 3 or 4 attempts. Maybe I'm just guessing. Whereas now Ferrari are literally half a tenth away from Hamilton and Bottas.
So yeah, you're right. The Mercedes and Red Bull are on, normally a faster car, and like traditionally, Leclerc's drop off to the top 2 in Spain proves that. But if there's anyone who can get in the mix, and if there's any weekend they can get in the mix, it's this one.
Let's have some predictions then. Podium. I'm going to go for Verstappen, Hamilton, Leclerc as a podium.
I was going to go
Bottas.
I was going to go the same as Nigel, Verstappen, Hamilton, Leclerc.
You still can.
It's still available.
I have just done.
Okay.
And what was yours, Adam? Sorry.
Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas. But if it's not that, then I'll go bungee jumping.
Okay. Let's quickly just finish off then with a bit of calendar news. Turkey has been cancelled, unfortunately, due to travel restrictions, I think it was the reason. And instead, we've got 2 races in Austria, just like last year. France has moved 2. So it now goes France on the 18th, the first Austrian race on the 25th, and then second Austrian race on the 2nd of July. Is this something we like? Would we prefer to have seen a different track rather than a second Austrian race, perhaps?
I'd rather see Canada on there, but I don't know. I think it's just easiest, and I think this grid slot has been messed around so much already that this is just F1 wanting to play it safe and just get it locked in, because just staying in Austria, although it's still good. I think both Austria races last season were terrific, and we can hopefully expect that again. It's not a bad compromise, but in an ideal world, I would have preferred to see some other tracks on there.
In an ideal world, yeah, but unfortunately, it's too late to think about anything like sorting out travel to anywhere else, because like they had just enough time to sort out travel to Turkey, but now it's kind of like we've already got plans to travel to Austria. Let's just leave it at that. Let's not try and go to somewhere far flung or organise people to go on a triple header again to sort of wangle their way across Europe somewhere, be it Nürburgring or Hockenheim or somewhere, which would have probably been suitable, but it's just so much easier to do this, and it's the common sense move. And it's like Adam says, great track.
It's a road trip though. France to Austria to Germany, quite fun.
It would be.
Yeah, I also think we'll see Turkey later in the season anyway. It wouldn't surprise me if other races pull out and Turkey comes back in and that kind of thing.
Who knows? We don't know. We can't predict anything.
Yeah, true.
But we just did.
Yeah.
We predicted that Monaco wouldn't happen at the start of the year.
Away from the track action, Freddie, I believe there is some off-track stuff with the new F1 game. Do you want to tell us what is going on? Because I don't really know about it.
Oh, yes. So there's the My Team function in the F1 game, which is breathed a new life into career mode as of F1 2020, which is where you can have your own team in the game, which is fantastic and is really cool. And you're like the manager of that team and you drive for that team and you can hire a driver for that team and stuff like that. And so now there are some, because it's a story, it's a bit of fun. It doesn't have to be uber realistic. There are some other options for drivers, and they are icons. So they're icons of Formula One, historic figures that you can just bring into Formula One. And we have 7-time world champion Michael Schumacher, 4-time world champion Alain Prost, 3-time world champion Ayrton Senna, 1-time world champion Nico Rosberg, 1-time world champion Jenson Button, 1-time championship runner-up Felipe Massa, and David Coulthard. All icons of the sport. That's me on DC. 2-time, I think, runner-up DC, to be fair. And
I do like
cool.
it.
It's great. It's a really fun idea.
I think it's good having those two in though, because yes, you've got these icons, but there's kind of different, I guess, levels. There's the absolute legends, and then there's JB Rosberg, who are kind of more modern championship winners, and then you've got Massa and Coulthard, who are runners up, and it's just it's like bringing different levels in. I think that brings a lot more than if they put, I don't know, like PK and someone else who I can't think of, or Hakkinen or something. Then I think it brings a lot more to that, and you can finally try and win the championship with Felipe Massa at Interlagos, and they'll be happy. But yeah, it's kind of annoying that they keep doing this now, because like every year I think, I should get this, but I know that I didn't play it enough last year to justify it. So, yeah, it's kind of annoying on the one hand that they're now revamping it brilliantly, but there you go.
I know that I do play it over and enough, way too much. And I'm on to season 7 of my F1 2020 career mode, and I haven't played it for a month. And if I had been playing it for that month, it'd be on like season 9. So that's the thing. And it only goes up. Like, it's amazing it actually does that much. But like, it's gone around so much that I'm trying to remember who's in what team. I think Charles Leclerc has left Ferrari. He's joined AlphaTauri. He's joined my team. He's joined a different team, and now he's back at Ferrari. Not so much it's wiggled around. And I think, Esteban Ocon got pole for Red Bull at a race the other day. It's just like, what's going on? But it'd be great if you just see like a Rosberg v Hamilton fight, just that you just kind of made up, is fantastic, or a Senna versus Schumacher championship fight that we were cruelly denied, that would be fantastic as well. I think it's just only going to get more and more. We'll start to see drivers like Damon Hill probably, and Mansell and Hacken popping up, and lesser legends as well, more like, you know, someone like Pedro Diniz or someone like that who's completely random, will just pop up because there'll be like a fan campaign for some random driver. Maybe get Pastor Maldonado in there, that kind of thing. And I think it'd be fantastic. There's so many opportunities to expand this this sort of in-game universe, and rather than limiting it to the 20 drivers who are on the F2 grid in that year and the 20 drivers on the F1 grid, you can bring in sort of, I don't know, maybe bring in like Grosjean and Magnussen, who have been hardwired into the game for the past 5 or 6 years, and theoretically would still be on the driver market, or someone like Hulkenberg. And it just gives you the kind of hope for the future of F1 games, which, as someone who sort of followed F1 games for a long time, about 5 years ago, we had no hope for these games. We all thought they were going to be just crap, frankly. And F1 2015 was terrible. And you couldn't even input your own name into it. You had to play as a driver. There wasn't a safety car because it was too complicated or something. And they've got over all of those hurdles, and they've got over all the hurdles that FOM threw in there, like with driver transfers and stuff like that. So now these games are just getting better and better and better. And like, you know, it's an easy one to say it's no FIFA, but nothing's a FIFA in terms of this kind of in-game universe, but it's actually kind of getting there now. So
I think
well done, Codemasters.
It is getting there. And yeah, like you say, I think it's, on the one hand, there's, you know, they still got to update it every year and bring the tracks in and all of that. So I don't want to kind of demand too much of them, but it's like, it feels like this guy's the limit in terms of where their imaginations can take them. I think, contrary to you, I got to about Vietnam practice of my first season on my team and didn't get any further.
That's the Vietnam track for you.
And I also can't input my name because it didn't allow it, so I have to be Adam Adams.
Oh,
There's not. No, there's genuinely, I can't really? my surname into it.
Oh dear. All right, well, there we go. Freddie and Adam are going to try and make some stories on the new F1 game. We're going to go back to try and find some stories in Sheffield, and including investigating some stuff, even though I don't do that module. And hopefully there will be some stories after Sunday's Monaco Grand Prix, when we will be back to review it all. So until then, we will say goodbye.
Adios. What's goodbye in Monaco? Monaco is, just messed. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.